Damn, they walked it off.
The MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Product Fantasy. Go up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up with the promo code MLBSGPN. Claim your special pick and your first-time deposit offer up to $50 in bonus cash. Product Fantasy, promo code MLBSGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgampockets.com with Rhythm, sportsgampockets.com/RITHMM. And welcome, everybody, to the MLB Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently Friday afternoon, roughly 5 p.m. Eastern Time on June 14th. I'm your host for this one, Scott Reichel, joined once again by Lonte Smith, and together we're going to break down the Saturday MLB card. Lonte, how's it going with you?
Yeah, I just took an L in the College World Series. North Carolina just walked it off, so I had Virginia, but had the under and the Cardinals today, so 2-1. So I'll take it so far.
Yeah, I can't say I've been following that much of the college baseball World Series. I know North Carolina almost lost to Long Island way back, but they ended up winning in walk-off fashion, and it appears they won in walk-off fashion again. So apologies for your loss there.
Yeah, it's all good.
I care more about the Jello shot race, to be honest, which I think North Carolina is winning right now as well. So just keep that in mind. Point is, though, should be a fun amount of Saturday games to go through. We have 15 games, so looking forward to those. I know last time I was on the show, I swept, and I gave out the Mets as my lock, which is really just a crazy maneuver, but it paid off. I backed Peterson against the Marlins. He got there, and then I ended up having the Rangers. First 5 money line, fading Buehler at like plus 160, give or take, and then Seager at the 3-run home run in the 5th inning. So good time out for me last time I was on the show. I know that your episode yesterday, you're still waiting on the results because a lot of the games haven't happened yet. But overall, any takeaways from this past week? Anything that's kind of caught your eye?
Nothing that we didn't pretty much go over yesterday, but I think we got some really good series this weekend, really good pitching matchups all over the card. So I'm looking forward to a good weekend. I think it's going to be a good weekend of baseball.
Yeah, should be. You got Yankees, Red Sox. You have a couple of interesting series in general. I know the Red Sox aren't as good as, they have been in years past, but they look good against the Phillies for the last couple of days. So maybe that'll result in a fun series over the next couple of days. Either way, though, before we get into any of the actual Saturday games, I do want to remind you once again that Circa is having a $16 million amount in guaranteed prizes for Circa Survivor and for Circa Millions. Sign up in Vegas and play from anywhere with footballcontestproxy.com. Promo code SGP to get $50 off. That's footballcontestproxy.com. Promo code SGP. So to start off with the Saturday card, we're going to get into in order. The first game, which is Oakland taking on Minnesota. This game should be an interesting one because we know Minnesota is going to be a massive favorite. The question is, are they actually worthy of being that big of a favorite with Ober on the mound, who so far this season is really average. 5-4 record, a 5.13 ERA, though, so he gets a ton of run support, but has not been that effective. Estes, though, is pitching for Oakland, who's been also kind of up and down. Minnesota's minus 185. You have Oakland at plus 155. The over-under in this game is set at around 8 or 8.5. Lonte, I'm going to ask you, do you want to potentially lay 185 with Ober?
I do not. I do not want to lay anything with Ober. The A's have actually been competitive in the first 5, so I'll look there when Estes goes. Minnesota also has been pretty good hitting the ball as of late, 43 runs in the last 5 games. But I think Estes can hold his own against Ober in the first few innings. I mean, 3 earned runs or fewer in 4 of his 6 starts. Has been on the road more than home, so this is kind of, it's not new to him. Ober on the opposite end started off well. He had 9 hits in his I'll start off like this. He has 20 earned runs in his last 5 starts. His prior 5 starts before that, he had 9. So regressing to the mean a little bit for him. Also has some walk issues, 9 walks in his last 4 starts. So I'm not going to trust him to lay that big price. I think Estes can get it going in the first 5 innings. So I'll go first 5 for Oakland, Scott.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm looking, but I think I'm going to go with the team total instead for Oakland in the first 5. It might be 1.5 in this game, and I think that's going to be too low. Maybe a bit of juice on that, but Ober has allowed at least 2 runs in the first 5 in, I believe, 5 straight starts. And in fact, if you want to go back even further, he tends to give up a lot of runs relatively early in games. He also has a home run issue, as he has allowed 6 home runs in his last 5 games. So with that being the case, I do think that Ober might give up a couple runs early. Estes, I don't think is that good either, so I don't mind the over in this game. We saw Minnesota's bats kind of wake up in one of the last games against the Rockies, where everybody on the team all 9 starters had a hit and an RBI, which I don't think I've seen ever in my life. But point is, Minnesota's been hitting decently lately, and I think Estes can be vulnerable. But I do question Ober, and I do think that he is known to, let's say, pitch to contact, which is
Yeah.
code word for his stuff isn't that dynamic. So I think that Oakland can get a couple runs across him in the first 5. So I am going to go with Oakland first 5 team total over in the first 5, probably at 1.5. And I think that might be a solid play. I don't mind the over, though. I think you're going to see a run. So I'm assuming you agree on the over in this one?
Yeah, I do agree. Yep, I'd agree
All right.
100%.
Moving on to the next game, you have the Cardinals taking on the Cubs. We saw the Cardinals beat the Cubs about 20 minutes ago as they won 3-0. Going through this matchup, though, the over-under in this game is set at around 8.5. Should be a fun pitching matchup, at least for one side, because you have Imanaga on the mound for Chicago. And so far this season, we know that he's been very good. He had 1 or 2 bad starts. One of them wasn't exactly his fault, because I think only one of the runs were earned against the White Sox, and the one start he got shelled in was against Milwaukee a couple starts back. But going through the actual matchup here, Imanaga, once again, has been great overall. A 6-1 record, a 1.96 ERA. And you have Palante, who's pitching for St. Louis, 2-2 with a 4.88 ERA. The Cubs are laying 170. Cardinals are plus 145. I understand that Imanaga's been great, but the Cubs have been horrible for about a month and a half, and the Cardinals, don't look now, are randomly at 500, and they were in the basement about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. I think I am going to take the Cardinals at plus 145. I don't want to lay 170 with a team that's been this bad for the last month and change. I know Imanaga's great. I get it. The bullpen for Chicago, though, has been horrible at closing games recently. I'm going to go St. Louis, maybe in a bit of a hot take. I really don't want to take Chicago based on the current form.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I just won't be on St. Louis. I mean, I think Imanaga can pretty much shut him down, so I'm going to go with the under. He's not allowed over 2 runs in any of his home starts. St. Louis struggles against lefties, under 215, only 2.3 hits in that span. This is the last 10 games as far as the hits, but they're hitting 213 versus lefties on the year. I mean, I think Imanaga did a good job of bouncing back after that rough start against Milwaukee. Like you mentioned, 3 combined earned runs in his last 2 starts. So I don't think we see a lot of runs here, Scott. I think Imanaga can shut him down. Palante's been okay. And again, I don't trust the Chicago Cubs offense at all. So I'll go under the number here.
Yeah, I think if I was going to go with the Cubs, it'd probably be first 5, and you just hope they get to Palante. But I can't stand this Cubs bullpen. I'm sure Cubs fans can't stand this bullpen. And I'm sure Craig Counsell can't stand this Cubs bullpen. But point is, I can't trust this team laying 170 when they have been this bad for the last couple of weeks. Either way, though, moving on to the next game, I think I'm going to agree with you, though, on the under. I don't trust the Cubs bats. I think Imanaga can keep the Cardinals in check. So I'll lean under with that one as well, and that total is at 8.5. Moving on to the next game, you have the Guardians taking on the Blue Jays. For this one, we have no line because we don't know who's pitching. We have Carrasco listed, who's been really bad for the last 2+ years at this point, 2-5 with a 5.5 ERA. Undecided is pitching for Toronto. I don't have much on this game because I don't know who's pitching for Toronto. I've been fading Toronto recently. That has been working out pretty well. I think I have to back Toronto here just based on Carrasco being that bad, but I don't have a price. I don't know who's pitching. I got nothing. All I know is Carrasco's not any good.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I don't have anything. Obviously, Toronto's the most inconsistent team in the league, pretty much, them and the Padres. So, I mean, I probably want to stay away. I do like the Guardians today. I don't for what that's worth. No, I mean, game pitching. I mean, the game's kicking off in about like an hour or so. So if you want to put that down, I think Logan Allen can get to him today. But yeah, don't have much again for this game.
Yeah, moving on to the next game. You have a matchup between 2 teams out west. You have the Angels taking on the Giants in an afternoon game, so it's going to be around a 1 p.m. start time Pacific. But you have Sandoval pitching against Wynn. Damn, that's probably the worst pitching matchup of the day. You have the Giants at minus 140. You have the Angels at around plus 120. Over-under in that game is set at around 8.5, juice to the under. Both these pitchers are horrible. There's really no way around it. Sandoval, we know, has been underwhelming for a couple years, 2-8 with a 5.32 ERA. If you want to go through the last couple starts, though, he has been a bit hot and cold. 5 2/3, 5 runs against the Astros, 6 innings, 1 run against the Padres, 6 innings, 2 runs against the Yankees, 3 2/3, 8 runs against the Guardians, 6 innings, 1 run against the Rangers. So once again, just been very, very up and down. Wynn has been, I mean, arguably demotable at this point. I feel like he might end up in AAA if he keeps pitching like this. Last 4 starts, 7 earned runs, 5 earned runs, 7 earned runs, 5 earned runs. So once again, he might end up in AAA by the end of the month. I think I have to lean to the over. I can't pick a side in this game. I guess I'd lean Sandoval because at least he's been okay in a couple outings. Wynn's been just batting practice for the last month. So I think I'm going to lean Angels. I don't mind them offensively in this game, but I think the idea of the Giants laying about 140 with Wynn on the mound is just wild to me. So I'm going to lean to the over, maybe Angels team total over, but I think there's value on the plus money with the Angels because Wynn is horrible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I like the over as well. I mean, 2 bad pitchers. Well, actually, Sandoval hasn't been as bad. I mean,
he's been
especially
hot and cold, but when he's bad, he's really bad.
Yeah, 1 combined earned run in his last 2 road starts, but he hasn't pitched on the road in almost a month. But the quality of offenses that he's faced, which is why he's probably been hot and cold. I mean, he had the Yankees, Astros, and Royals. I think he had the Royals in Kansas City, if I'm not mistaken. And we know how well they play there. He has to cut down on the walks. He's walked at least 3 batters in his last 4 starts. So, I mean, I trust Sandoval over Wynn, of course. I mean, 23 earned runs allowed in his last 4 starts. So, I mean, I think we see some runs here. Scott. I think both pitchers can be a bit erratic at times. But if I had to make a choice, I would choose Sandoval over Wynn. Wynn hasn't made it out of the 4th inning in his last 4 starts, so I don't expect that to change here. So if the bats can get hot for the Halos, I think they can get it done. But I like the over. I probably look at Sandoval early rather than waiting until they get to the bullpen. So I'll look first 5 for sure, but I like the over in the game.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning that a total of 8.5 in Oracle is basically the same as a total of 12 in Coors. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
The fact that it's at 8.5 tells you how bad these pitchers are, and we're expecting to see some runs in this game. But I do agree with you. I would have leaned to Sandoval if I had to pick a side. Before we get into any of the other games on the card, I do want to remind you once again that we're brought to you by Fantasy because Pick 8 is now live for the NBA Finals. Might be the last day you can take it because the finals might end tonight, so we'll see what happens. But create entries up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex your entry, so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With even more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. Best part, you go into 325 times your original amount. You can now use specials and boosts on all flexed entries. Personally, for my Pick 8 tonight, I might borrow one of your plays, Lonte. I might go with PJ Washington, 20.5 higher on the PR. You have any thoughts for a play on the Pick 8?
I love that, and I also love Lively points and rebounds. I think Gafford is going to be shifted to a lesser role in the game tonight. Lively gave him good minutes. He's rebounded the ball extremely well, and he played a little bit better offensively as well. So I like Lively, his points and rebounds. I think he's going to soar over that tonight.
Yeah, well, hopefully that ends up happening, and honestly, hopefully Dallas wins, because I don't think we want to see a sweep in the NBA Finals, no matter who we're rooting for. Either way, though, point is sign up with the promo code MLB SGPN to claim your special big and a first-time deposit offer up to $50 in bonus cash on Fantasy. Promo code MLB SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Just finished going through the first couple games on the Saturday card. Time to keep it rolling, though. We just went through the Angels and Giants game. Now it's time to talk about some teams from the East. You have Miami taking on the Nationals in games that only gamblers could love, because why would you care about both teams? The Rogers is pitching against Hers, and you're looking at the money line here. Nationals are minus 125. Miami's plus 105. Over-under in this game is set at around 8.5 as well. Nationals are only 4 under, so they're actually not that bad. The Marlins, though, have been awful all year, and nothing's really changed, as they are 22 under, and they are also 9 under on the road. Rogers is 1-7. He's been awful. Hers has not been good either, though, so it's kind of rinse and repeat with what we just talked about for the Angels game against the Giants. Do you trust either of these pitchers, or do you just blindly lean over and hope that one, if not both of them, blow up?
Yeah, don't trust either pitcher. Murs struggled in his debut versus the Mets, but he did improve in his recent start. 2 earned runs versus I guess I don't know if we can qualify Atlanta as good to this point, but just their historic run that they had the past few years. So I'll just say they're a decent offense. But Rogers, man, 3rd most losses in the MLB, 10 walks in his last 4 starts. I think we see a lot of runs here, man. Both teams. Washington's coming in actually hitting the ball pretty well. 7+ runs in 3 to 4 games that they played earlier in the year. So they've had some success against the Marlins. So I maybe look at a Washington team total over. But I think the game can go over here. If Washington can give us, 5 or 6 runs, I think we can get over with Miami getting us across the finish line. So I like the over, Scott.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean to Washington in general. They have won 5 of their last 6, did lose the last game against Detroit, but they had won 5 of 6, and they had scored 7 runs in 4 straight, or 5+ runs, 7+ in 3 of the 4, before the 7-2 loss against Detroit. So you mentioned Washington's been hitting the ball well lately. I think that'll translate into this game. Miami, we know, even when they're against bad pitching, isn't a guarantee to hit, so I guess I'm going to lean to the Nationals, but damn, this game is really between 2 bad teams. I mean, the Washington, for I'd say all intents and purposes, has overachieved so far this season in a good way. Like, good for them. They're supposed to be in the basement. They're right now in, I think, 3rd place in the NL East, right?
They got a nice rotation. They got a nice rotation with Gore, Parker. Yeah, they got a good rotation.
Even the offense, though. I mean, they kind of have a bunch of no-names, and they found a way to piece together some runs.
CJ Abrams is a monster.
Abrams is good, but you're looking at the offseason acquisition. They picked up Joey Gallo.
Oh, yeah,
objectively one of the worst hitters in the entire league, and that was their main offseason move, I guess. And they're in 3rd place, so not too shabby. But either way, point is, I am going to lean to the Nationals. They've been in better form offensively, and I do think Miami, at the end of the day, this team is worse than Washington, despite what the talent might say on paper. Even with the talent on paper, you might argue Nationals are better, but yeah, I'll lean Nationals, but I'll lean to the over. I don't trust either pitcher in this game. Moving on to the next game, you have the Phillies taking on the Orioles. You have Walker taking on Rodriguez. You have the Orioles at around 175. You have the Phillies at around plus 150. Over-under in this game is set at around 8.5 or 9. It's a massive number against the Phillies, who have been one of the best teams in the league. Then again, you can make an entire conversation out of Phillies, I'd say, cupcake schedule. Up to this point, they really have not faced many teams above 500, which has contributed to their solid record. However, Taijuan Walker, we know, is really, really bad. And his record is fine this season at 3-1, but he does have a 5.4 ERA, pitches to contact, and the Orioles have a lot of very dangerous hitters that can make contact, heavy contact, with the ball, most notably Henderson, of course. I do agree Baltimore should be favored. Is 175 disrespectful, or is that a fair line?
I think it's right. I think it's right on the borderline of being there. I mean, Philly's offense hasn't been. It's been leaving a lot of guys on. I mean, I know the metrics, overline metrics, have looked good, but they just been leaving runners on. I think they had a couple of chances to put guys put points on the board yesterday against the Red Sox, and they couldn't do it. But I mean, Baltimore, their pitching has been elite, man, especially in the last 10. Their bullpen has an ERA under 1 in the last 10 games. But they also hitting 260 against lefties. I think the up and down nature of Walker mixed in with how well Baltimore has been playing, especially on the pitching side, and with Rodriguez. I mean, Rodriguez 7 wins and 11 starts, 2 earned runs of less than 5 of his last 6. So he's been going well. And this is the best, although Walker's been, kind of struggling, 4+ earned runs in 2 of his last 3 starts. This is going to be the best offense that he's played up until this point. Only 3 of his 8 starts have been on the road, none up to this caliber of offense, of course. So I think the price is about fair. I would probably lean to the over, to the team total over, for Baltimore, thinking that we get some runs off of Walker early and often, and then maybe get to that bullpen a little bit later. So I like the Baltimore team total over if I had to make a play. I would probably lay to 175. I'm not going to lie, Scott. It's not sexy, but I mean, I think Baltimore is playing in better form right now. I like their pitching a little bit better, especially with Walker on the mound.
Yeah, I was kind of setting it up that I do like Baltimore in the run line in this game.
Yeah,
I was just wondering if 175 was too expensive or not.
Yeah, no, it's right. It's like borderline.
Yeah,
it's like borderline.
Run line is plus 122, which I think is appealing. I know that they're the home team, so that's why it's such a big jump from the money line price, because in theory they might not bat in the 9th inning. But Baltimore has been great. Simply put, as good as the Yankees have been, Baltimore has been kind of keeping chase. And we know that you mentioned the bullpen numbers. Phillies pitching kind of fell apart in the Red Sox series, so we're kind of going to wait and see if the bullpen's going to struggle once more. But Baltimore at home has been really good. Rodriguez has been very good at home in general. And Walker consistently hands out 3-4 runs to everybody. So maybe Baltimore first 5-run line. I don't mind Baltimore full game run line of plus 122. I think at the end of the day, Baltimore, though, has some value on the run line. 175 might seem steep, but I actually agree with you. I think it is warranted. So I am going to go with Baltimore on the run line at home in this game. Moving on to the next game, you have the Reds taking on the Brewers. And the Brewers have Wilson on the mound, and you have Abbott pitching for the Reds. Milwaukee money line is minus 145. Reds money line is plus 125, and the over-under in this game is set at, just pulling it up quickly, 8.5 market wide. Abbott, we know this season has been fine. Wilson this season has been, I don't want to be disrespectful because his numbers are okay with a 4.19 ERA. A lot of it feels very smoke and mirrors-ish, where I don't think he's actually that good. And he's been getting kind of shelled recently. Gave up 7 runs last start against the Tigers, 3 runs against the Phillies, 3 runs against the Cubs in 4 innings, 2 runs and 5 1/3 against the Red Sox, 4 2/3, 2 runs against the Astros. He really doesn't have great stuff, so you kind of wonder how he pieces innings together. But I think Abbott's the better pitcher if I had to compare the two of them. So I guess I'll take Abbott at plus money.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Abbott a lot better than I do Wilson. Wilson 6.11 ERA in his last 6 starts. 4 of his last 5 starts have been on the road, so he's at home. Maybe he kind of settles down a little bit. But Abbott's been really good, man. 4-2 in his last 6, 2 earned runs or fewer, and 10 of his 13 starts overall. He's been really good on the road, 3 earned or fewer in 5 of 7. Cincinnati's offense is really like humming along. They're hitting above 260 in their last 10, 6.1 runs per 9. They do, however, struggle a little against righties. So maybe that's why the number is a little bit low. But Milwaukee, they struggle against lefties, so 227 versus lefties. So not a big difference in bats there. So I think we get the better pitcher, Scott, at plus odds. I mean, I think you can't pass that up. So give me Abbott in the plus money.
Yeah, I thought about maybe going first 5 to take the bullpens out of the way because we know Milwaukee's bullpen's great and Cincinnati's can implode at any moment. So maybe I wouldn't mind first 5 in this one. Trust Abbott. I think Wilson should give up at least 2. He kind of gives up 2 minimum in every start. He got shelled by Detroit last time out. There is a chance the Reds jump him and score maybe 3 or 4 in the first 5. So I wouldn't mind first 5 instead, just avoiding the bullpens at all costs because we know Milwaukee is capable of coming from behind against this bullpen of Cincinnati and potentially getting the win. So I'll give me the Reds first 5 as my main play in this one. Moving on to the next game, you have the Tigers facing off against the Jose Abreu-less Astros, who officially cut him today. Astros are now minus 145. You are looking at the Tigers being around plus 125. For the over-under, you have 7.5. And you have what should be an interesting matchup because you have Verlander against Flaherty. Now, Verlander this season has been kind of up and down. Flaherty is kind of the same way. He's been a little bit more consistent than Verlander. But we know the Astros are always a bigger threat at home than they are on the road. This year is kind of no different as they are 1 under at home and 6 under on the road. Detroit, though, 2 under in general. They're 1 over on the road. So they're also worse at home, or they're worse at home than on the road. Flaherty, though, I think is going to pitch relatively well here because Houston's offense has not been great recently, and he's been very good on the road. 2.43 ERA. Flaherty has actually allowed no runs in his last 2 starts combined. So he's in good form. Verlander, I think, might have something as well for his former team that's really not good offensively. I like the under in this game. Yes, I understand that it's low at 7.5, but I think I like the first 5 under here. I could see a very low-scoring, like 2-1 type game through 5. I'll go with the first 5 under.
Yeah, I love it. I'll take it a step further. I love the first 5 under. I think we could see maybe a 1-0, maybe even a scoreless between these two teams with the pitchers, especially. I mean, Flaherty, you mentioned his last 2 starts. He's held team scoreless 11 2/3 innings, only 3 hits combined in that span. The thing that does worry me is the contact for Verlander has been up over his last few starts, but Detroit's been struggling hitting the ball. So, I mean, I think they can kind of negate that. And also Verlander, he hasn't been a sharp 4 earned runs in 3 of his last 5. Only 1 quality offense in that span as well. I think that was Milwaukee. So that's kind of worrisome as well, which is kind of keeping me off the side. He did shut down Detroit in the earlier meeting through 7 scoreless, had 8 Ks. And overall, he's had, success against Detroit. His last 3 starts versus them, 0.7 ERA, 9 combined hits. 5 of those came in 1 start. So I think we see a low-scoring game here, Scott. I love the first 5 under, like the full game under. So I'll put a full unit on the first 5 under and maybe a half unit on the full game.
Yeah, I am going to point out something that Trevor did say, and it does involve Flaherty actually not pitching recently. He pitched about 10 days ago, pitched on June 4th, has not pitched since, so maybe he'll be a bit rusty. We'll see what happens, but I fully expect Verlander to kill his old team. He does pretty much every time they face off against each other, so I don't mind Verlander pitching a gem. Maybe the over on outs for Verlander, if you want to go for Astros first 5, maybe hoping that Flaherty ends up struggling early with a bit of rust. I still expect a lower scoring game. Maybe the full game under is worth a look, but I'll go with the first 5 under in that one. Moving on to the next game, you have the Mets of the West taking on the Mets of the East. You have the Padres taking on the Mets. And Padres, I don't know if I can actually say that anymore because they're 2 games over. So they've kind of moved themselves out of meme territory, but point is they are underdogs in this game. You have Quintana as a favorite, which is always a dangerous idea or notion, as he is currently 1-5 with a 5.29 ERA. Mets, though, are minus 125. The Padres are plus 105. You have Mazur pitching for the Padres, 0-1 with a 9 ERA. Small sample size, so just keep that in mind. Over-under in this game is set at 8.5. Don't look now, but the Mets have actually been decent over the last week or two. Now, facing off against Miami helps, and they cashed a lock for me a couple days ago, so thanks. Did win 2 out of 3 in that one. Split against the Phillies in London. Did sweep the Nationals. So overall, not bad. They have won 6 of 8. So we'll see what happens. They're still 7 under, but they are trying to become relevant again. Keyword trying. But for this one, the Padres, we know, have been a pretty psycho team all year long. Mazur has been unproven. Hasn't exactly pitched much. And Quintana, though, Quintana being a favorite, I think, is disgusting. I think I have to lean to San Diego or at least the over in this game because I just can't take it with Quintana. I mean, a 5+ ERA and he's minus 125. I can't do it. He hasn't been better at home, though. 3.86 ERA at home while also being 0-3. So he gets no run support at home. He's given up exactly 3 runs in 4 straight starts. So he might give up some runs early. Maybe San Diego first 5 team total over is worth a look. Tatis might take him deep. Who knows? Tatis has been in good form over the last couple weeks. I'm going to lean to the over. I'm going to lean to San Diego because the Mets laying 125 with Quintana, I think, is disgusting.
Yeah, I love the over, man. But I'm going to lean the other way with the Mets. I just think we know what we're getting. Like you just mentioned it. We know exactly what we're going to get from Quintana. I mean, exactly 3 runs, like you mentioned, in 4 straight starts. He's pitched versus high-quality offenses, and I think that we can say that on the road, at least, San Diego's offense is pretty elite. But they do struggle against lefties, though. 229 on 3.1 hits, whereas the Mets are hitting the ball really well, damn near 300 in their last 10, 6.4 runs per 9. So I do like the over here. Mazur, one good start, Sheldon the other. I mean, small sample size, like you mentioned. He does have some walk issues. So if, they can get on base early, I think the Mets can have control here. But both pitchers, probably can give up a couple of runs, maybe 3 or 4 runs here. We can get over this number. But I'll lean to the Mets. I don't love it, but I would lean there, being that we know what we're going to get kind of with Quintana.
Yeah, I feel like I have to mention, though, Quintana, despite giving up 3 runs in his last 4 starts, he has been getting progressively worse in each start. Against the Guardians, 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs. Next start against the Dodgers, 6 innings, 8 hits, 3 runs. Then against the Diamondbacks, 4 innings, 3 runs. So he went down by 2 innings there. And then he only went 3 2/3, gave up 3 runs in that one. He's also allowed 5 home runs in his last 4 starts. So he might give up a home run or 2. So once again, Tatis maybe might take him deep. But I think it's just a value play. I can't lay 125 with Quintana. Yes, the Mets have been better recently. They split against the Phillies in a game they arguably should have lost. But the point is they still won that game. They won 2 out of 3 against Miami. It was awful. And they
walked it off last night or yesterday.
And they also swept the Nationals, who are not very good. So the point is, an easy schedule has kind of helped them with this recent run. So I'm not sure if it's fool's gold or if they're actually playing better. Point is, though, I'm going to link to San Diego for the value at plus money. Anything else you want to add, or should we move on?
No, we can move on.
Cool. Moving on to the next game, you have the Rays taking on the Braves. For this one, you have Pepiot taking on Morton. The Braves are minus 165. The Rays are plus 140. The over-under in this game is set at 9 flat. We know Atlanta offensively has been kind of all over the place, mostly negative honestly, even with Acuna, they were mostly all over the place, mostly negative. But has not gone much better. The Braves were well over 500. Now they're only 6 over 500. So they've been really, really underwhelming for the last month. As for the Rays, they have been, I guess, treading water, but mostly drowning. Can we say that? Because the AL East is really good, and they're basically in last place, but they haven't been a total embarrassment. They're only 3 games under. We know Atlanta's better on paper, but they've underachieved all year. Morton's been all over the place as well. 5 innings, 4 earned against the Nationals. 6 innings, 1 hit, no runs against the A's. 5 2/3, 12 hits, 8 runs against the Nationals. He's been all over the place. So I don't know what to expect from Morton. Pepiot I actually like. I think Pepiot's pretty good. So I think that he's a solid young pitcher. I think Tampa will eventually mold him into being a solid, like, potential ace of the rotation in maybe a year or two. But so far this season, 4-3, 4.17 ERA. Been incredible on the road, though. So far this season, 18 innings pitched on the road, a 1.5 ERA, and he's 3-0 on the road. I think I am going to lean to the Rays here. I definitely don't want to lay 160 and change with Atlanta based on what I've seen for the last month. Tampa, are they good? No. Can they get up for an opponent and find a way to steal one? Sure. I'll go with Tampa at a decent plus money price.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I would want to fade both of these teams, to be honest with you. I'll just go with 2 player props. I don't know if they came out yet, but I'll look at Pepe at his Ks. He's at 7+ in 3 straight starts, and also look at Morton's hits to go over. He's got 29 hits in his last 5 games. He also has been getting killed as a big favorite. He's lost 4 of his last 5 starts. 3 of them he was laying $1.80 or higher. So not a lot of value there. ROI pretty down on that. I don't trust either side. I would probably lean to the over, thinking that we can get some runs in this ballpark. Maybe Atlanta's offense kind of opens up, but I just can't make a compelling case for it to put money on it. So I will put money on those props. Pepiot's K prop and Morton's hits prop, total hits allowed prop to go over.
Yeah, I don't trust either team either, but plus 140 is plus 140. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. So
fair.
I'm not going to lay 165 with Atlanta right now. This team might miss the playoffs, and like not enough people are talking about it. I don't know what the future odds have. I actually got to pull this up because it might sound like an overreaction. I don't think it is. They're only 6 over. They were well above 500 a couple of weeks ago. So
yeah.
I mean, but who's going to
who's going to take their place though? I mean, that's the problem.
I know it's asking a lot. I'm just saying the
Yeah.
Braves to miss right now is plus 750. Like minus 1,200 to make. Isn't that like very expensive for a team that has been really underwhelming for the last month?
No, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah, but if some of those other teams at the bottom, like the Pirates, I guess, could kind of come up. But do you trust the Pirates long term to kind of?
Well, that's the problem you run into is that we have 3
Yeah.
wildcard spots, and the 3rd wildcard spot race is disgusting right now in the National League.
Exactly. That's the point.
It's just Atlanta, who I think has been overrated all year. Acuna was struggling, and now he's out for the year. Olsen's regressed dramatically. Who's really stepped up for this team? Albies? I mean, Harris has been up and down, mostly down. What exactly do they have right now?
Yeah, Olsen's been down. I think what people probably are banking on is, the kind of offense to kind of reset after All-Star. Maybe they get an arm, in the during the trade deadline, maybe a bat or 2 in there as well. But I mean, outside of that, and the possibility of that, I mean, I don't know what people are banking, their future success on. So I'm agreeing with you. I just think that you kind of look at it from both sides. They don't have any teams that are ascending to the point where you're like, okay, yeah, I can kind of see it.
No, it's fair. Don't get me wrong. I think Atlanta's probably going to make the playoffs just by process of elimination, but plus 750, I do think is a price that is relatively large for a team missing its best player for the rest of the year, a team whose offense is underachieved all year. And you say they might trade for an arm, maybe a bat. They might need to reinvent the entire lineup right now because they set the bar so high last year and everybody has regressed. So I just think 750 is a crazy price, whether it cashes or not. Point is, though, I'm going to lean to Tampa in this one just based on the price. And I think Pepe on the road actually can do something in this game. Moving on to the best rivalry in baseball. You have the Yankees taking on the Red Sox. You have the Yankees at minus 170 and the Red Sox at plus 145. Rodon is pitching, who I've roasted for a year, but damn, he's been really good. A 9-2 with a 2.93 ERA. You have Criswell pitching for the Red Sox, 3-3 with a 4.13 ERA. The over-under in this game is set at 9. Looking at Criswell's numbers, by the way, to go through the last couple of starts for him, Rodon's been good, but as for Criswell, has been better at home than on the road. Recently, though, has not been great. He's allowed at least 4 runs in 2 of the last 3, allowed at least 3 runs in 3 of the last 5. And we know the Yankees are dangerous. They probably should have swept Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Rizzo is I don't even know what to call him, a geezer at first base at this point, and he kind of sabotages the game. Point is, though, the Yankees probably should have swept. Judge has been Barry Bonds for a month. Soto's great. Stanton actually is in a good stretch. He'll be slumping in a month, but he's been very good recently. Torres has been good. The whole team's been really good. Yankees run line? I mean, I can't really go against this. Now, Boston has been good offensively. over the last couple games against Philly. So maybe the over is the move. But Rodon's been good. I think the Yankees minus 1.5 will pretty much always have value because this team is just insane offensively.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more, man. People are waiting on Rodon and Nestor to kind of regress, but I mean, it hasn't happened yet. Rodon's 5-0, 1.6 ERA in his last 5, no more than 5 hits in that span. He's pitching well in the game, 6 innings pitched in 10 of his 14 starts, performs well on the road, 2 earned runs or less in 3 of his last 4 road starts. I mean, Scott, I think you just pretty much hit everything on the head with Rodon. The clear pitching edge with Criswell. Offense, I mean, Boston's offense is pretty good, but I think Rodon can pretty much come in, not shut them down, but he can do a good enough job to get to the bullpen with with a 1-run lead, and they kind of can shut them down. So I like the Yankees all 9 at bats. Give me the run line.
I think the one issue I will point out with Rodon, which is kind of an Aaron Boone issue, he tends to leave Rodon in for too long, and then Rodon will automatically fall apart down the stretch. So it seems
he does that with everybody. Like I hate it about.
Yeah,
he does it with everybody.
It's fair, but I'm saying Rodon usually gives you like a solid first and maybe second time through the order, and then he'll leave him in for like the top of the third time through the order, and he'll get shelled. And then he pulls them with multiple guys on base. It feels like it's the same thing every time with Rodon pitching. But the first couple of times through the order, he's pretty solid. So I am going to go with the Yankees. This team is really good. The Yankees have also covered the run line in a bunch of Rodon starts. To go through the numbers here, the Yankees have won each of Rodon's last 7 starts by 2+ runs. So if you want to go for the run line, he's been the run line king. I do want to actually pull up some stats though, to see if that's just selective recall or if I'm right, that Rodon does get worse as the game goes on. First time through the order, Rodon, 185 batting average against. Second time through, 184 batting average against. Third time through, 333 batting average, right. 403 on base percentage. So, right. Apparently I was exactly right. Boone will leave Rodon in for too long, then he'll struggle. But the first time through the order, he's been really, really good. So just keep that in mind. I'll go with the Yankees on the run line in this one. Moving on to the next game on the slate, you have a matchup between, pulling it up right now, the Rangers and the Mariners, which should be a fun one. Seattle had a pretty fun game against the White Sox yesterday, where the White Sox tried to sabotage a Crochet gem, blew it in the 9th, but then won the game in the 10th. So I feel bad for Crochet, who got himself a Jacob deGrom no decision in the game yesterday. For the actual matchup for this one, though, you have Uvalde pitching against Kirby. The Mariners are minus 135. Rangers are plus 115. Over-under in this game is set at around 6.5 or 7. So we've seen a lot of 6.5s or 7s recently in Seattle. So we'll see what happens in this one. The Rangers, though, look good against the Dodgers. They won the series, actually. They look pretty good. They gave up like 15 runs in the first game and then won the next 2 games. So they did a good job of kind of bouncing back. As for Seattle, they were able to beat the White Sox, but I don't think any of those games were easy. In fact, they trailed in like a lot of those games, and they were able to salvage a couple of them. I kind of like Texas at plus money. Kirby's been very up and down. He's 5-5 with a 3.81 ERA, but he has had a couple of really bad outlier starts. You can argue he's better than that. He has been good the last 3 times out, though. Last 3 outings, 7 innings, 1 run, 5 innings, 2 runs, and 6 innings, 1 run. So we'll see how he looks. Point is, though, I think Uvalde's good. I think the Rangers are in better form. And it does seem like the Rangers, after beating the Dodgers in a series on the road, I think they're in good form. So I'll take the plus money.
Yeah, before I get into the game, let me ask you, I know you mentioned Crochet at the top. I was listening to like MLB Tonight, and they were saying that Crochet was linked to us, to the Yankees. What the hell is he going to do? He's going to be a setup guy? There's no way he's cracking a rotation, right?
Yeah, he is. They're going to tell Cortez to take a hike. Yeah.
Really?
They're shoving Cortez out. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, man. Okay. I guess, yeah, well, I like Cortez. A lot of people don't like Cortez.
Well, so Cashman, I know, historically speaking, Cashman loves a very good blend of lefty and righty starters. More than he should. We tried the J-Happ experiment. We tried a bunch of stuff with lefties. Like, we were trying hard
Trust me, I know.
To get lefties and righties to have an even mix in that rotation. Cortez really should be the odd man out. I know he's great at home. I mean, you got Petit right now, but that's going to be Cole in probably a couple weeks, so that's not going to be a big deal. It's always good to have depth. I don't think you can use Crochet in the bullpen. I think you have to start him. I just think he's that good. I think Cortez would turn into a long reliever, if I had to guess. But then you're looking at, it also makes sense because you replace a lefty with another lefty. But you're looking at Rodon, who's a lefty. you have right now Cortez, and you can kind of move one of them out. So I'm not going to say no to Crochet because I think he's really good. It's always better to have too much starting pitching than too little starting
Yeah, I agree.
pitching.
I can agree with that. I agree with that.
And I think, of course, the depth will help. But if the Yankees get him, I think Cortez has been the weakest starter of all the starters so far this season. You agree with that?
Yeah, I pretty much do agree. I mean, just comparing. I mean, but the Yankees, the elite pitching, best pitching rotation in the league, pretty much. But like top to bottom. But yeah, I just thought I would to get your take on that. But I like
It
the
might,
under.
yeah, it might also be a sign, even though he is a lefty, that Clark Schmidt might be out longer than the Yankees thought if they are
Yeah,
trying to
fair.
make a move for a pitcher, because that might be a sign. We knew Schmidt wasn't going to throw for about a month or two, but if he maybe is going on the shelf, and he's been really good this season for Clark Schmidt as, I do think they're going to have to replace him with somebody. So if the Yankees do get Crochet, I mean, the White Sox are having a fire sale. So if you can get Crochet for 50 cents on the dollar, then hell yeah,
Probably
be my
30, probably
guest. Like, I'm not
35
going to
cent
argue with
actually.
it.
Yeah.
Like, any rotation would take him for 50 cents on the dollar. Give up a couple of prospects and just take him anyway. So I don't mind it. I would like Crochet on the Yankees, but we'll see what happens. I know the Padres were linked to him a couple weeks ago, so we'll see if that happens either. They will be trading him because the White Sox are a disgrace to baseball. But anyway, I am going to go with the Rangers here. What were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I like the under, man. I think you mentioned it. Both pitchers have been really good. Evaldi 4-1 his last 5, 1.2 ERA, low contact in that span as well. He's also under in 4 of his last 5 starts. Kirby, you mentioned the last 3, so I'll just combine it. ERA of 2 in those last 3 games, a 21-1 K to walk ratio, and at home, man, he's elite at home. Last 20 innings pitched at home, 1 earned run combined. So I think we see a low scoring game. Texas is hitting 212 versus righties in the last 10. Seattle under 210 overall in their last 10. I mean, we know Seattle offense, the struggles. And Texas is also under in 7 of the last 10, 3 runs or less in 7 of 10. So I think we see a 2-1 type of game here, much like we saw with the series against the White Sox. I don't think either team scored over 3 runs or maybe 4 runs in that series. So I think we see much of the same here with this matchup.
Oh, you did with the Raleigh Grand Slam, but I believe in like the first 5-6 innings.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what.
There were basically no runs in like the first 5-6 innings of every game, and then the bullpens imploded in basically every game. So yes, Seattle offensively has not been good. Texas, though, they were decent against the Dodgers. You get buried by double-digit runs in the first game, and you assume, all right, they might get buried this entire series. They won 2 out of 3.
Yeah,
good for Texas. I'll go with the Rangers at plus money. Moving on to the next game, you have a matchup between the Royals and the Dodgers. For this one, you have Lugo pitching against Yamamoto. Dodgers are minus 200. The Royals are plus 170. Over-under in this game is set at around, just quickly trying to find the number here. 7.5 is the total. We know Lugo's been great this year. Might be one of the favorites to win the AL Cy Young. You could argue it's him or Skubal, so we'll see what happens. But Lugo's been great. Yamamoto has been solid too, 6-2 with a 3 ERA. I am going to point out that Yamamoto was skipped over with his last time through the rotation, I believe. Actually, no, he wasn't. Sorry. He ended up pitching against the Yankees, and he's not pitched since the 7th. So a little bit of extra layoff time, but I don't think he got passed over, but he was given extra time in between starts. So I'll put it that way. However, last 2 starts, 13 innings, 1 run allowed. He shut down the Yankees. Soto didn't play, but still a phenomenal showing by him in that Friday game that was 0-0 into the 10th inning. Lugo, we know that was great. Question is, though, the Dodgers are laying 200, and they really didn't look good against the Rangers for the last 2 games. Do you want to lay 200? Because I don't.
Yeah, of course not. No, you definitely don't want to do that. Maybe find some exotic props or something. But the thing with Lugo, I will tell you this. He has struggled as of late. 9 earned runs in his last 2 starts. He had 9 combined in May. He was touched up by the Yankees, of course, but I mean, everybody gets touched up by the Yankees nowadays.
Except Yamamoto.
Yeah, except Yamamoto, yeah. And what's my guy's name that's going today for the Dodgers? Stone pitched well against us as well.
He had a couple runs, but he was good for the most part.
Yeah, this was Lugo's first loss. Well, last start was his first loss since April. His contact has been up a little bit. His contact has been up, but teams weren't capitalizing. But now I think they're scoring. If you look at some of the offenses that he's shut down, Scott, I mean, White Sox, Oakland, Angels, Detroit. But when he plays up in class, like above average to elite offenses, Yankees 4, Cleveland 5. I think Cleveland's average offense. Baltimore 4.
The record's good, so that counts.
Yeah,
If you want
I
to
mean
throw them in
they're like top 4 in runs per game. I think
there.
top 6 in home runs, top
Yeah.
15
On
batting
paper, it
average.
might not be good, but the Guardians are good. So
Yeah, but
that counts.
just contrasting the comparing contrasting the offenses, it seems like he's beating up on on the lesser competition, which is fine. And then when he's like going up in class, he kind of struggles a little bit. So I think that could be the case here. Don't want to lay 200. So I'll go with the Dodgers team total to go over.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean to first 5 under in this game. I think Yamamoto is going to pitch very well here in the spot, but I do think Lugo might give up a couple. But with a total of 7.5, you're probably looking at a first 5 total of 4. And I think 4 is actually just a pretty off line, in my opinion. So I'm going to go with the first 5 under. Dodgers, after that first game against the Rangers, did really nothing offensively for the rest of that series. So I'll go with the first 5 under at 4. I think you might be right. Maybe the Dodgers break through late, but I can see a low-scoring first half of that game. I'll go with the under as a result. Moving on to the next game, the second and last game, you have the Pirates taking on the Rockies. And for this one, you have Jones pitching against Blatch. So far for the money line, you have the Pirates at around minus 175. You have the Rockies at around plus 150. We know Jones has been solid this season for a young prospect with a lot of upside. Blatch has been surprisingly good, I guess, at least for his own standards. He has a 4.84 ERA, 3.86 ERA at home, though. Now, recently, not so good. He has given up 4 runs in 5 innings in back-to-back starts. 18 hits in those 2 outings, so recently not great. But at home, he's been definitely better. So I think for the sake of this game, I understand why Pittsburgh's laying a big number. Do I want to lay 175 with Pittsburgh? Hell no. So I am kind of on the fence here. I don't know if I have anything for this game, to be honest. The over-under, by the way, is set at around 10.5. I really don't have anything. I think Blatch at home can actually piece together some innings. So maybe Rockies first 5 if you think Jones struggles in cores, but I want nothing to do with the Rockies bullpen, so I'm not going to bother. But I do think this game might be more competitive than people think.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you to a certain extent. I think Jones can pitch well here. He's had a chance. Well, he hasn't pitched in Coors, but he had some familiarity with the lineup. He threw 7 scoreless on 1 hit in May, in his May start. But he has lost 3 of his last 4 starts. We all know Coors is a hitter's park, so if he kind of loses control there, it could spiral out of control. So I do like your first 5 there. He's not been as good on the road. 11 earned runs in his last 3 road starts versus 5 in his last 3 at home. So I think I'm going to agree with you, Scott. I mean, Pittsburgh is just okay versus lefties. Colorado 211 versus righties in their last 10. Maybe I go under here and maybe Colorado first 5. I just Blatch is just giving up a ton of contact, man. 5 home runs allowed in his last 4 starts. I know Pittsburgh's offense is just whatever, but it's a tough game, man. It's a tough game. I'll lean to Colorado first 5. I think you made a compelling case for that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the pitcher prop, though. I am going to look for Jones walks. I know the Rockies don't walk a lot, but Jones walks a ton of guys. He's walked 2+ guys in 4 straight, 3+ guys in 3 of the last 4. So he does walk a lot of batters. Keep an eye out for that. Maybe the Rockies can piece together some at-bats and maybe walk a couple of times. Prop might be 1.5 at plus money, since it is Colorado. That might be a pretty sneaky angle to fade Jones in some capacity, back him to continue walking guys. Moving on to the next game, the last game on the card. You have the White Sox taking on the Diamondbacks. No line for this one, as you have Fetty taking on undecided. Fetty had a gem, and it got sabotaged against Seattle with that walk-off grand slam by Raleigh in the 9th inning. White Sox, though, we know that they are one of the worst teams of all time. 18-52. They are 6-29 on the road. The Diamondbacks, though, are 3 under, 17-17 at home, though. Yeah, I don't know what the line is, but White Sox first 5. They've been really good lately, early in games. I mean, the bullpens have been blowing a bunch of games for Chicago. They've been leading a lot of these games in the first 5 innings, and I think Fetty's good enough to actually maintain a lead through 5. So I don't have a line on it. We know Arizona's going to be favored because the White Sox are the White Sox. Give me Chicago first 5 at plus money.
Yeah, absolutely. Love Chicago in the first 5, man. Fetty is the first 5 killer, man. He's been doing really well. 4 straight road start, 4-1 in his last 5 first 5s, 11 runs allowed in that 5-game span, and 8 of those came from 2 teams. So he's been doing a really good job. The White Sox are 6 in first 5 record overall, 9-1 in their last 10. So give me first 5. I bet Fetty and Crochet every time they're on the mound. You can't lose. Got to turn a profit within first 5 full game. You're getting plus price. No need
Full
to.
game, I don't know about, but first 5 I can get behind.
Yeah, but I mean, Crochet's got what 5 of their however many wins that 6 now. I think he got 6 of their wins. And in some of those no decisions, he's pitched well. So if you just cash at like a plus 250, plus 230 here and there, I mean, you're going to be up a few units depending on your bet size. But yeah, I get what you're saying, though. I get what you're saying.
There's no part of me that'll ever want to back the White Sox bullpen, so I'll just take the first 5 with those guys. But
I agree with you.
That's how I'm kind of looking at it. Besides that, though, that's going to wrap it up for the actual card. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. Before anything of that, do want to remind you once again that we are brought to you by Rhythm, because Rhythm is a great place to help you with your NBA player props. So once again, it might be the last day of the NBA season if the Celtics win again tonight. And if you're betting on player props, you need to get Rhythm, because Rhythm is a prediction and projections app that makes data and analytics in sports betting easy for everyone. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data to help you become better bettors by helping give you AI-backed betting decisions. Prop predictions are paired with trend graphs so you can see for yourself whether or not the projection has some value, making betting easier for sports bets or even DFS picks. If you want to look at either superstars or bench players, Rhythm does have the best player prop lines, all backed by data, without you having to constantly scroll through sportsbooks for multiple sites for trends and predictions. And I know a lot of people were on the Tatum overs for rebounds and assists. Now Rhythm was under that in Game 3, and that got there. So once again, keep that in mind. They do have some value, maybe contrarian angles with their overall predictions. Either way, though, point is you can claim a 7-day free trial today by going to sportscamppockets.com/rhythm, sportscamppockets.com/RITHMM. Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Just finished going through the Saturday card in baseball. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. Lonte, I'm going to let you go first. What is your lock and dog for the Saturday games?
Yes, I mean, I'm going to go total. It's a little rare total for me for the lock. I'm going Texas and Seattle under 7. We broke it down earlier. I think we got 2 elite pitchers going. The offense of each team has been going pretty bad. 212 versus righties. Texas is in their last 10. Seattle, we all know what their offense is doing. Texas hasn't scored over 3 runs in 7 of their last 10 games, so they're still struggling. I mean, Evaldi, Kirby, I think we see a low-scoring 3-2 type of game. So I'm going there with the for the lock, Texas, Seattle, under 7. For the dog, I'm going to go with Abbott on the road, plus 120, I think. I think he's a better pitcher. I think Cincinnati will be able to get to Wilson, who hasn't been going well, 6.11 ERA in his last 6 starts. I do think Cincinnati will be able to get to him. Abbott's been really good on the road, actually been really good overall, period. And Cincinnati's offense has been on fire as of late. So I'm thinking they can get to Wilson early and often here. Give me Cincinnati and Abbott for the dog.
All right. So for my lock on the show, I had a couple of things to choose from. I actually liked a lot of dogs on the card.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I think for this one, I might just go full-on Astros pitching gem here.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I want to go for the under, if I want to go for Houston first 5. You know what? Give me Detroit first 5 team total under in this game. Might be a 1.5. I'll trust Verlander. You mentioned his numbers against Detroit this season, in his career, and he's been incredible against the Tigers. I think he's going to pitch well here. You're looking at Verlander's numbers recently. At home, he's not been good. In fact, recently he's not been that good. But I do think that he can get the job done against this Tigers offense. Pitch against Detroit 1 time this season at home, 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs. I think he's going to pitch well. Give me Verlander, based on some historical numbers, do give up less than 2 runs in the first 5 innings. I think it's going to be at 1.5. I doubt it's going to be a 2.5. So give me the first 5 under on Detroit team total as my lock. For my dog, I had a couple of picks to choose from. I thought about the Yankees, but I'm not going to do that. I think for this one, I am going to go with the Orioles, minus 1.5 at plus 122. Rodriguez has been good. Walker, I think, is going to be in serious trouble here. You mentioned that Baltimore's bullpen's been great, too. So some of the bullpen issues have been rectified, which I think is important for Baltimore. They've been great on the run line all year, especially at home. Phillies pitching has been struggling recently. The last game against the Mets in London, you had the series against the Red Sox. Not exactly in great form right now. And I mentioned before, the Phillies' record is pretty padded by a lot of weak competition. Yes, so I think that they're not as good as their record says they are. So give me Baltimore. The team's been a freight train recently. I'll take the Orioles minus 1.5 at plus 122. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. You can find us on Twitter. Find me on Twitter at Reichel Radio. Find him on Twitter at XXLonteXX. I know usually we also do some weekend NBA action. I'm not sure we're going to even have NBA action, so I don't know if we're going to have an NBA show over the weekend. But Lonte, let people know what you're up to.
Yeah, man, I'll probably be doing a lot of draft stuff. Hopefully the Mavericks can get it done so we can have a little bit of NBA discussion going. But I think we got a great weekend of baseball, man. College World Series going on. And I think we got a great card. Great pitching matchups that we just went over. And then the stuff that's going on today as well. And it's going to bleed into the weekend. So, yeah, man, I'll be doing a lot of NBA draft stuff, a lot of MLB stuff. Yeah, man, we're getting close to college football and NFL. So it's a good time to get prepped and ready. And the baseball grind is just continuing on. So looking forward to that.
Yep, definitely looking forward to it too. I know that you, I believe, are not going to be here on Sunday, right?
Yeah, it'll be Dylan.
Yeah, so I'll be with D-Rock on Sunday for the next MLB episode. Until next time, though, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.